Yeah, to be perfectly honest, things just haven't been working with my current imaginary assistant. He's, oh God, what's the word? Completely incompetent. I'm currently planning to have him dunked in a pool of acid. I have a few other options on the table of how to get rid of him. But I thought since, season two, let's get some fresh blood, let's get some new people in here. So, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself? What makes you think you're qualified to be the imaginary assistant to the Kaijuologist? You're voting for Trump. Okay. You teach Irish dance in the nude. Good to know. Yeah, no, I don't consider golf a sport. You have your own flock of carrier pigeons. You don't say. Fascinating. You're voting for Marco Rubio. Gotcha. No, I don't consider NASCAR a sport either. Oh, you're voting for Ted Cruz. Yeah, me too. Me too. Uh huh. I'm sorry. How many dead raccoons? A kaiju. It's a giant monster, or it's a strange monster. It's a Japanese phrase. You have no idea what I'm talking about. Okay, this is going to be a lot harder than I thought. Yeah, no, I get it. It's just that this thing with the Godzilla toy, this look, it's kind of been taken. Good evening, Kaiju fans, and welcome to another episode with yours truly, the Kaijuologist. Now, tonight is going to be part one of a two-parter I have planned for you all. As I stated in the last episode, I wanted to expand the channel a bit and get a few more different types of videos, different types of discussions. And one thing I've been sorely lacking on a category I really haven't done enough of are just countdowns. Countdowns are fun, right? So take a guess. Who are we counting down tonight? I think let's just get into it. A countdown of Mechagodzilla is kind of a bitch because there's this little problem where there's only 5 films with Mechagodzilla in them, and none of them are really bad. He is, for whatever reason, a kaiju who always manages to bring the best out of Toho and Toho's production team. This is the case with the Showa period, this is the case with the Heisei period, and certainly the case with the Millennium series. So, grinding out this countdown was kind of a bitch. Initially I thought maybe my personal favorites, how I'll go down the list. And then I thought, well, maybe more objective if, talk about how well structured are the films, how good do the films look technically, and all those things can kind of be considered. But when I did my countdown for King Ghidorah, I really tried to lean into what films benefit the monster, I suppose, and really do justice to the character. And just like King Ghidorah, Mechagodzilla is one of the all-time arch-Nemesis. He is a central antagonist to Godzilla, and rightfully so. I mean, come on, Robot Doppelganger, it's awesome. It was awesome in the 70s, it was awesome in the 90s, it was awesome in the 2000s. So, yeah, just know that even though I am going to try and categorize best to worst, there really isn't a bad movie here. So by all means, go enjoy all these films. Okay, it's time to bite the bullet and get in. So number 5, the film that I think does the least amount of service to the character of Mechagodzilla. I'm going to put in Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2, 1993. We're in the heart of the Heisei period. And like I said at the top, this isn't a terrible movie. Honestly, when you consider the shit sandwich this film is wedged between, I mean, It comes after Godzilla versus Mothra '92, which is the bottom of the barrel, in my opinion, for the Heisei period. And then after this Mechagodzilla film, we followed up with Space Godzilla, which is just fucking cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, crazy in your face. Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2, it's unfortunate. I think it kind of just it gets forgotten in the Heisei period more than others. And I'm not sure why. I think maybe it's because it's caught in between so many extreme styles of film that it's wedged around, that when you think of the Heisei period, it just kind of it kind of feels bland, I suppose. And it's arguably the safest film in the series. I mean, they don't introduce a brand new kaiju in this one. We're back to standard Mechagodzilla fan favorite, Rodan fan favorite, even Baby Godzilla. You know, it's an update of Minya. It's a much preferred update. But yeah, for some reason, and actually this film we're going to be talking about more in my next, and the follow-up to this countdown, so I won't spend a lot of time. The problem here is that, as compared to the Showa Mechagodzilla, as compared to Kiryu in the Millennium period, this Mechagodzilla just lacks character and personality. He's just a military machine. That's kind of the whole point. That is kind of the heart of the philosophy of the film. He is just kind of a tank destruction machine. But being controlled by humans, he's not good, he's not bad. He's this weird neutral prop. He doesn't feel like a proper kaiju the way we did with the evil Showa, and then the weird ambiguousness we get with Kiryu in the Millennium period. The design, too, is just... it's not a bad design. It just isn't as fun or interesting as the other two. The film has some of the strongest effect work in the Heisei period. Again, it's like whenever they trot this kaiju out, suddenly everyone at Toho, jumps on their A game. This film is such an improvement, and it really... as far as effects go, probably the most well-rounded film, maybe outside Biollante, in the Heisei period. Not terrible human characters, but again, bland, just not all that memorable. So really, it's got some spectacular set pieces. It's a fun movie, and it really is a breath of fresh air in the Heisei period. As compared to how schlocky and crappy some of it got, this one succeeds especially on, I guess, a philosophical discussion more so than any of the others. And the way the kaiju interact, it's a pretty solid film overall. But we're hitting it at number 5. So number 4, this one also just breaks my heart. There is no way around it. This is, I would argue, one of, if not the most underrated Godzilla film in the series. I'm going to hit up Terror of Mechagodzilla. I believe we're in 75 at this point. This is Ishiro Honda's last time leaving any sort of fingerprint on the kaiju genre. And it really is a good movie. Especially you gotta see the Japanese version. We're going to be talking more about this in the next video too. But the English is crap. The English Terror of Mechagodzilla is utter crap. Avoid it. It's a good movie. It's a sophisticated film. It is also, I think, a nice exit, honestly, for the 70s. The 70s was such a weird period for Godzilla films. This movie does a lot more right than wrong in that context of this decade. The problem here, again, is that Mechagodzilla feels very secondary to our shiny new kaiju being Titanosaurus. And it's understandable, because Titanosaurus kind of kicks ass. Titanosaurus is fun, classic, retro Godzilla enemy. And I think the screenwriter just had more fresh ideas with Titanosaurus. And I think Honda kind of bonded with that monster a little more. That said, as far as Mechagodzilla goes, it's a nice... I guess it gives us a little more of a conclusion to his character in the Showa period. We have the final demise of his alien masters. We get the surprise second head at the end, which is fun. But the biggest compliment, and my favorite part of this film, honestly, is some of the cinematography. with Mechagodzilla. The destruction sequence of Tokyo, where he is just blowing shit everywhere, shit flying everywhere, is stunning. It really does rival even some of the destruction scenes we see in the Millennium period with Kiryu. This is a fantastic city destruction sequence, and it's just some really good cinematography for Mechagodzilla. Some of the shots, the melee fights, the city shots. I like too in this film. He looks a little darker, rustier, a little more damaged. It's really, it's a very strong entry in the kaiju genre, but it is a film that has a lot of other working ends. I mean, even Godzilla feels pretty secondary in that film as compared to how much excitement and energy was on Titanosaurus. And so that's why I have to hit this one down at number 4. Again, excellent film. I can't recommend it enough, and we're going to talk about it more in the next episode. Okay, so now to number 3. At least we're kind of in the middle of the group. I can feel a little less guilty now. This particular one, if I was just doing a countdown of my favorite Mechagodzilla films, this might be my favorite, honestly. I'm going to hit up Godzilla, Mothra, Mechagodzilla, Tokyo, S.O.S. Could there be more words? I bet there could if Kaneko was directing this one. This is such a whoa, what am I even trying to say? Visually, the movie is breathtaking. It's maybe the best looking Godzilla film as far as effects-wise go that the series ever hits. I don't think anything in Final Wars looks half as good as the destruction sequences, the melee fights in this one. Mothra looks excellent, Godzilla looks excellent, and then we have Kiryu, who, I mean, the same pattern here. I just kind of have to dock this movie down a little bit because we have a lot of energy and effort put into Mothra. And it's really fun the way we're riffing off of classic 1961 Mothra, but still, I feel like there are times where the movie's distracted about what kaiju it's most excited about. Understandable. You have 2 of the all-time classics with Godzilla, and that's why the movie's so fun. It's just kind of a crazy amalgamation, a constant homage to a ton of other Godzilla movies, but the effects are so sophisticated and so well done, you kind of don't mind being refed a lot of similar things. I do appreciate with this movie, though, that we really wrap up Kiryu as a character. We give him a conclusion, because this Mechagodzilla is not just the Mechagodzilla, he's also the bones of the original Godzilla. Pretty crazy, pretty cool. But it's nice that the film really gives him an ending, a proper burial at sea. He gets to have his piece. As a character, it just makes him a really rich, fascinating type of Mechagodzilla, I suppose, as compared to the other Mechagodzillas. Okay, number 1, number 2, you guys. It's almost like you could almost do like a flip of the coin with this. It's such a horror choosing between these 2 films. And so this, I am kind of having to rest a little more on my personal preference. So number 2, I'm going to throw up Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. I love this movie. It's a really well done movie. I kind of was bringing this up with Tokyo S.O.S, but Kiryu is just such a fascinating, cool kaiju. I mean, he's not even just fully a machine. He's almost like a cyborg hybrid. And the scientist who has like the trilobites he builds, that's all kind of nice. They build up to the invention of Kiryu in a pleasing fashion. It doesn't feel like complete forced idiocy that you're just supposed to stomach. It's also interesting. This is the only film in the series where it is just Godzilla and it is just Mechagodzilla. And again, the melee, the special effect work here. I will say special effects, Tokyo S.O.S beats it out a bit. But there's still some really fantastic shots, really interesting, exciting kaiju action. I have to admit, for some reason, I think it's maybe just because I'd seen Godzilla versus Megalon, or not Megalon, Mechaneron first. I think that I've just always found this plot kind of boring and just predictable with its human element. The human element is, and it's not that it's boring or predictable. It's not that it's terrible. It follows a lot of the same beats we just got with Megaguirus. But this is so much better. This is so much more fleshed out and detailed and interesting. It's maybe too soon, and it just never clicked with me as being a very exciting human element to the plot. Which is why I guess I kind of lean into my number one being the first, the classic 1974 one, is the human element is nowhere near as polished as Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. It's nowhere near as practical and well built and nuanced. This Mechagodzilla film makes the Kiryu series look like Shakespeare. But there is something about the 74 one that is just such excellent, campy fun and just paced so well. I mean, I did do a proper review of this one. You can look that up. The pacing is just a marvel because every time it's starting to occur to you that things aren't adding up and this is kind of dumb. This whole alien invasion thing is really half-baked. Suddenly there's a brand new, really flashy, interesting action set piece, be it kaiju or human action, that immediately pulls you along and keeps you going, keeps you invested, keeps you excited. I'm just such a sucker for their traditional Showa design. There's just something weird, rusty, retro, like it's not practical and sleek the way 93 Mechagodzilla is. And it doesn't have the kind of weird softness and also just blatant futurism that Kiryu has. It just has this weird, janky. I understand some of it's supposed to actually be kind of styled after like samurai armor. Do you think about kind of the wings and some of the weird placement of metal parts, I suppose, or the weird band thing that he's got going on his abdomen. And I also appreciate just what a nasty sucker he is. Like the first encounter just blows the shit out of Godzilla, just blows the shit out of everything. The next time they battle, Godzilla's like covered in blood. This Mechagodzilla he was just such an eruption on the kaiju scene. It's a shame that the whole franchise, well, and the whole industry itself was capsizing at this moment. Because who knows what more fun they could have done with this character, or explored with him too. The first, I don't know what it is with that first one that just really has a very specific and special place in my heart. But I suppose I also have to acknowledge that's one of the things I really respect about what they were able to pull off with Kiryu and Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, is Kiryu was both a good guy for most of the film, but then had a city destruction scene of his own, where he haywired and was like reconnecting with the Godzilla bones. And that was such a clever, smart idea to incorporate into that universe, because then you got both sides of Mechagodzilla's character. The more I'm talking about it, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, it is maybe the stronger film, but it's my countdown, god damn it, and I like the original nasty, janky looking retro Showa Godzilla. That's where my heart beats. So I'm gonna put the first Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla at 1. I'm keeping Godzilla against Mechagodzilla at 2. Deal with it. So I've been hinting at it throughout the countdown. The next film coming up from yours truly, we're going to do a compare and contrast between Terror of Mechagodzilla and Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. They're two films. I put them as my bottom two, but I think they're just interesting, underrated entries in the Mechagodzilla canon. And I rewatched Terror of Mechagodzilla recently. I'm going to be rewatching Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. But that's what you cats and dogs out there have to look forward to. I think we'll call it a night. Hey, I appreciate anytime you check out the videos. Drop a comment, drop a question, do whatever you want. I appreciate the support, and I'm going to be seeing you next time for a fun compare and contrast. I'll be signing off from Denver, Colorado. We're the Mile High City, and we're getting higher all the time. It is really fun to pet you. Has anyone told you that?